Yo, yo, yo. I just got a great video message on my Instagram and I have permission to reply to it publicly. So let's watch the video and then get into it.
Yo, man, I was just watching your video, your 15-minute video, and I've been listening to you since 2013 when I heard Mountain, and I'm like, holy fuck, that's just getting it. And anyways, you were talking about how, organic flow and wanting to be your full expression and all that. And without a doubt, I'm sure you've been through a shitload of emotion and stuff, since 2013. And you were talking about all these other projects and how, Dubstep for Moms and Carnival, releasing them was like your kind of own it. This is how I interpret it, way to test the waters again and see if you're ready to hop back out and be fresh and organic and just let it flow, like flow state and all that. And I was really curious how your flow state, now maybe your dedication or level of consciousness to it is higher now than it was then, but how was it during Circle of Nine and Mountain, right? That album?
Awesome video. Awesome question. Stifled by 1 minute due to Instagram. And by Mountain, he means Sleeper. He replied in a second video and said that. We're going to reply to this video listening to Circle of Nine in the background, starting it off with Void Leecher. So it's funny because I think about this actually a lot. And I think his way of interpreting it is great too. And I made a reference to this earlier, like when you release a song, you kind of don't know what it's going to be interpreted as, and I kind of intend for that to be happening too. And I think the same thing with kind of some of the stuff I'm putting out there can be interpreted in different ways. And I think he really hit the nail on the head. I think he's definitely right how I feel about putting out. I've often referred to Dubstep for Moms as like a new debut for me. And it's not necessarily like a new sound or a new this or that. It's just kind of exactly what he's saying. Like, I'm ready to like enter the stream again. And it's crazy because, he also alludes to that he's excited for the new projects and whatnot. And, I'm super stoked for the new projects. I feel like a bulk of the work that I'm sitting on right now that I'm stoked on is not available yet, right? So, and it's been crazy because engaging with the internet over the past year or so, maybe just like 6 months, I felt like the feeling that like people can just like feel that like something is different and like that things are going to be like what he said, I'm like re-entering into the stream, and I've released music before this and I didn't feel that way personally. I didn't get that reception online either. And this is just, one album each project, but I still feel like that's understood without even really verbalizing it. And I think this question in this video is kind of further proof of, all of us just kind of being connected to something, of picking up the vibe that's what's happening right now. So it's awesome. But to get down to what he's talking about with my flow state now and my approach now, and he used the word consciousness, like my conscious awareness of it now compared to back in the day, like 2010 to 2013. And he referenced Circle of Nine and Sleeper, so I'll talk about those albums particularly. And this is interesting too because during that time period is when I was doing Chem every day. So there's literally like everyday footage of my existence back then. And I'm 20 years old. 21 years old, so things are a little immature in some ways, right? And I'm more mature now, right? But I would say that flow state and some general principles that kind of I feel like really make me who I am were present then without full awareness that was what was kind of keeping my foundation for creativity in some ways really locked down, And I've always been very positive. I'm not always, he talks about like, I'm sure you've been through a whirlwind of emotions since 2013. And, there's definitely times where I wasn't positive and I had to learn about like that stuff. But it was funny, like I used to say to my aunt who I was living with in Huntington Beach, like every day is just the best day. Like, oh, it's the best day ever. And I remember like having this visual in my mind of like a graph. And I was like, it was like simple. I was like, simply like, this is easy. I was like, if every day is the best day of my life, then my life will constantly be doing this until I die. You know what I mean? And that's what I thought about. And I literally just like lived it. It was just easy, you know? That was like my approach. I was like, this is easy, you know? And it was true. Like it really happened that way. And then, you know, I still kind of like live by that today, but I'm just when you get older, you just have the way you think changes. You have more responsibilities, and you have more responsibilities to yourself, I would say. Like when you're 20, 21 years old, I had like a great family, a great childhood, you know, so I was like nourished, I was healthy, you know, I didn't have to worry about certain things, right? So I had all these things kind of covered already. So when I wanted to be in a flow state, like my hierarchy of needs was already kind of fulfilled, you know what I mean? Like I ate, you know, I had people around me, I had family, I was in a family. I had shelter that I didn't really need to worry about at all, you know what I mean? And so I was just like naturally like in this flow state, you know what I mean? And one thing I want to talk about for sure, and I want to talk about this on this channel at some point, probably a little more in depth, is sobriety. And it's not some like, it's just my experience, right? But when I was doing all that stuff, I was totally sober. I never was like ever into partying or anything, you know? And, you know, my family drinks and whatnot. So there was definitely like, I could probably count on the time on my, you know, hand, times I drank before 20 years old or whatever. And I'll talk about like, you know, the changes in that as I got older. And, you know, how I look back on it now and how I see it as a, like, easy and natural progression, right? But also, like, why I think it affected this flow state, too. And why I don't think, like, I've never had a problem with anything, but why I still think that's, like, a problem. And kind of some more recent revelations from dipping in and out of sobriety. And when I say sobriety, I also mean, like, just, like, lightweight, like going from not drinking at all to like I'll have a few beers every once in a while, you know what I mean? Like that kind of balance, right? Light stuff. And but that was something that I think was you know, like it's hard to like talk about without going all in on it. Like the answer to that question is not sobriety by any means, but it is like an aspect of, I think, who I was then, who I am now, and like where things kind of got, I don't want to say slippery. It's just like you're not on it, is what I'm saying. You know, there's like, let's just take alcohol. Like when you're drinking, there's some positives that you need. Like you need the socializing aspect, right? You need to find ways to relieve tension and to deal with the grind, right? And the socializing part's huge, and you get like instant. It's like an easy button for these things in a lot of ways. And then I'm talking like even if you just meet with someone for a beer or whatever. And I'm not trashing that. I'm just talking my own thing, right? My own experience, my own way I look at myself, you know, myself, biggest thing, right? So like the things I don't like is when, like, even if I've had a couple beers, I still feel like and people like this, they relax a little bit, they let things flow a little better, but I'm naturally flowy, you know, I've got good conversation skills, you know, I'm comfortable, I got energy, you know, and I'm aware of these things, so I don't need it, right? And then sometimes I don't like the way things flow. Like I don't like certain things I'll say or do, even like on a couple beers, right? And sometimes I don't even like the fact that I'll drink a couple beers. That immediately triggers me the wrong way. And then so there's the whole like thing I don't like about not being in control while the effects of alcohol are active, right? But the thing I really don't like is the post. You don't sleep good, and your next day is a little jacked up, right? So I feel like a lot of back to that pinnacle of, or that progression, compounding interest of happiness or best day ever. Like you get these dips when you're hungover, and I get brutal hangovers, you know. So that screws me up. I'm not able to compound my overall big picture flow with hangovers in it. It screws it up. And I've experimented with this, you know, over the course of the last 12 years, you know what I mean? And it's just, I'm better when I don't have any hangovers, you know? And yeah, I mean, I will get more into, I'll probably do a video about sobriety later. And I'm sure this video or this segment will trigger some questions as well, which I'm happy to share because I feel like it's helpful, you know what I mean? And it's just good for me to restate like how I feel about things and whatnot, you know? Or what's helped me or how I look at things, you know? So that was like a big deal back then though. Like not, and I didn't make a big deal about it. It wasn't a thing. I just was like focused. And I think I might have gotten a little off topic with the sobriety thing, but I think it is important to touch on because that is in many ways why I feel like super solid right now, or super solid for the last I don't know. It's a everything. Nothing happens overnight. Like things take like years to change. They take years to show change. I think if you want to make real incremental changes through habits and lifestyle, it takes about 1.5 years to see certain things resemble. And there's little things you can see and feel like day one, week one, month one, you know, quarter one, whatever. But like the real effects of things start to happen like after 1.5 years to 2 years, you know. And if you're always kind of learning, you're always kind of starting a new cycle like that, where like a new layer of your foundation, a new layer of like your ability and strength, you know, and you can get more into advanced layers or topics of improvement or betterment, you know what I mean? And those all take time to compound, you know, and it's you kind of have to do it in like from the bottom up, you know what I mean? Because if you are all focused on this stuff up here and your foundation is crap, it'll crumble and you'll have to rebuild it continuously, thus restarting all these little like compounding calendar things, you know what I mean? And the catch of it is you only get one life and you have X amount of time to do it all, and things change at every stage of your life, you know what I mean? So it's like that's just something to be aware of. It's not like a pressurizing thing. I mean, there's so many stories of people crushing it, starting to crush it after, you know, 40 years of not crushing it, and then they start to crush it, and then they, you know, change. Now we know about them, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But, and everyone's got their own little experience, journey, story they're going to be able to tell at some certain point, right? But yeah, my flow back then was like immaculate, and I feel like my flow now, I don't want to say better, because like I'm listening to Circle of Nine right now, and like I did this album in like 2 weeks, you know, start to finish, probably like still like I don't really remember it, like living my life, you know what I mean, surfing, going to coffee shops, you know, going out to breakfast with friends or whatever, living that Southern California lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be on Cam Every Day. There's got to be parts of this on Cam Every Day. I don't remember. I haven't really watched Cam Every Day. But yeah, I like, that's kind of how I, and I look at this period. One of the things when I started to like really get back into my shape and to start to feel like myself again, one of the things I remember saying was, I feel like how I felt when I was 19. I feel like I'm 19 again. And it was just like that kind of, like, that's how I started to feel like myself again. And I knew I was like on the right track, And I kind of feel like I needed to not to get off track. And it is, when I say get off track, it's like people just assume the worst. Get off track can be, you can be off track and do a lot of damage just by procrastinating. You know what I mean? You could just not do anything for a year and, stare at a wall, and it would do damage just like anything else that could distract you from your purpose, or whatever word you want to use in place of that, right? What, your your trajectory, right? So, that I kind of feel like I needed to get off track and to better enforce and understand these great foundations that I know how to build and know how to keep and know how to build on top of. And I feel like I think about this all the time, not all the time, but I think about it in like it just pops up normally when you're in a more reflective place, right? How like, I started making music when I was like 16. I mean, I was playing guitar before that, obviously, but like, I don't know, maybe around 20 is when things started to get a little more, or 19, I would say, things, because 19 is when I met Mitch, and I went on the Burning the Masses thing and all that. So like, and then I feel like 2021 was when I started to kind of have some like real wave type success, right? Where I was like, kind of in it in a way. And, you could define success. You can define my whole journey as success, depending on how you want to phrase that. Success in a bigger, in a easy way is just like, you're just on track. You could be, I don't know, you could be broke and be a success if you're on the right track. And you're hitting, you're checking, you're Xing each day that you're being successful at that point, if you want to look at it like that. So you can generalize this whole thing as success, but I think when, you start to get like somewhat of a reputation in some ways, in like different ways, whatever, maybe 20 through 23, I was like hitting that. And like, so you think about that, it's like, that took years and years of doing stuff, right? And being engaging and being myself and being strong and positive and having a flow state that I wasn't totally consciously aware of, but I was like really in it. Whether you're aware of it or not, you can be doing stuff, right? So awareness can be key, but it's a thing that comes with maturity, but then you're aware of it. It's like, what's that famous thing? Like, ignorance is bliss. It's like the same kind of thing, But I think when you get more mature and you're able to understand it better, you can harness it better, but then you can also talk about it. And I think talking about it in like, if you're listening to this right now, it's like, that's pretty amazing, right? You're absorbing some bit of information from someone with experience that could probably, be interpreted and hit you in a million different ways. And maybe even 2 years, you remember this moment right here, and that makes some kind of difference, right? It's like, so you're basically like, I don't know the right word, but you're like teaching, right? You're, I don't know the right word. It's been happening since like the beginning of human beings. You know what I mean? People have been telling people what to do, what not to do, and sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't. But eventually, somehow, like we've all progressed here, right? So we've been making progress, and I think this is kind of embedded in that progress. So that is a positive about talking about stuff and being more aware of it is to try to express your awareness using the English language, you know what I mean, to be understood and interpreted into your own awareness and your own experience, right? Man, these get deep. We're at 20 minutes already. You know, that's why I'm kind of glad I'm making these videos more, because like when I was getting back into like in that video, the question he asked, like re-entering, starting to contribute your organic flow back into like the stream of everyone's, you know, accessible grasp, right? Like I knew I was gonna have to be myself, and to be like one of my aspects of contribution was gonna be like my way of talking about certain things, right? Because that was a thing back in the day too, just at a different level, different stage, right? So I'm glad I'm making these videos. Nothing's gonna be uncovered in one video. This is just gonna be a series of moments, right? Series of talking about certain things, opening up certain conversations. I'm sure every video is gonna prompt about 5 different videos. That's kind of the way it should go. So we're just chipping away at, you know, talking about stuff, you know? So I'm glad these videos are coming along. They're good. And I think they're going to be, they're going to continue, and they need to continue to complete, you know, larger pictures, right? And, or complete larger chapters. And all that's next after a chapter is another chapter. It just keeps going. All right, I got to end it. Too long of a video, I think. Try to keep these around 15 minutes long. So shout out to, you have an interest, I don't know how to pronounce your Instagram tag. I'll probably link it up there, but, you know, wish I could recall the first name. I checked the Instagram too. There's no first name on your Instagram. But yeah, really appreciate the question. This was probably a little bit more roundabout than you anticipated. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think my flow is great. My foundations are great. My trajectory is great. And thus my contributions are starting to feel a little more, they fit into the pocket a bit better. And I think that's sparking a lot of excitement on my end, but also on the receiving end of, you know, whoever hears and interacts with anything that I touch, right? Or say through whatever, how many layers, right? So good stuff, exciting times. Looking forward to more videos as always, and thank you very much.